Welcome back. This is an Aleks study video on identifying oxidized and reduced reactants in a metal-nonmetal reaction. So each of these three reactions are what are called redox reactions. There's one or more electrons being transferred from one to another one of the elements. Whichever one gets the electrons since electrons are negative, is lower in charge at the end of the chemical reaction, and so it's reduced. The other one who loses the electrons are more positive at the end, and they are oxidized. Okay, so I need to know what's happening in terms of electrons here on both sides. I know that iron is 0 here because it's by itself. I know that iodine is 0 here, okay, because it's by itself. What's happening here? So the iodine is this is a charge, right? So this is a positive 2. This is iron 2 oxide or iron 2 iodide. So this is going to be positive 2 on this side because there's 2 negatives on this side. Okay, so the iodine is going to be -1 each, and the iron is going to be positive 2. So which one went up and which one went down? Iron went from 0 to positive 2, so the reactants oxidized is going to be, or the element oxidized is going to be the iron. Okay, what became reduced? Iodine was 0 at the beginning, it became -1 at the end, so it's lower, so the iodine becomes reduced. Okay. All right, what's happening next? I've got a solid lead element, which is 0. I've got solid sulfur, which is 0. Remember, even though there's 8 here, it's just sulfur, so it's 0. Sulfur is -2 because it's in group 6. It's a charge of -2. That means that this is 2 times 2 is -4. That has to be positive 4 at the end. So what's going to happen? Lead goes from 0 to 4. So the lead goes up. It's being oxidized. The sulfur went from 0 to -2. So you're going to write the whole thing down. S8 is the reactant that was reduced. Okay. What's happening with the chromium? Chromium by itself is 0. Chlorine is just by itself, even though there's 2 here, it's still just chlorine only, so it's 0. Chlorine is -1. It's in group 7. There's 2 of them, so this is -1 each. Now there's 2 of this, so this is -2 on this side. That means this is chromium 2. Has to be positive 2 on this side. So chromium went from 0 to 2. So the chromium went up, it's being oxidized. The chlorine went from 0 to -1, that went down, so the chlorine gas is reduced. Okay, do you see 2, even though I only have one thing here, because all of these were just by themselves, it's whatever you see. So it's the chromium because it was chromium with no subscripts. It's HCl2 because this is the reactant that worked with it. So they're asking you which one of these reactants reduced. Cl2 is a reactant, so it's Cl2. Chromium was one of the reactants since it was just chromium. Okay, so S8 had to be here. It couldn't just been S. That would have been wrong. All right, so one went up, oxidized, one went down, reduced.